However, one of the greatest actors of this generation, Alec Baldwin, Oscar-nominated, big star of a lot of movies. One of them we will present tonight, The Hunt of Red October, that he chooses personally in a range of movies that I proposed to him, and I'm very happy that we will screen that movie because it's particularly beautiful and it's a masterpiece of the 90s. For me, it's a thriller masterpiece of the 90s. The press conference will be conducted by Gianluca Pisacane in Italian for questions. I already met Alec. We talked about how important movies are, and just yesterday night we changed something. That's my first question is, why are you so happy to show one of your old movies to a big screen and a big audience of young people tonight?
Well, I think that it's a very important time for filmmaking. In my country, without going into significant detail, half the people in the country are happy, and half the people in the country are very unhappy. It's a very difficult time in the United States, and I think the only way people can learn what is happening, and film is unique in this way, not only what's happening in the United States, but around the world. What's happening, you might not learn from the news. Television news in the United States is a business. They have to make money. And again, not to go into great detail about that, but there's a hole, there's a vacuum. There is a gap, if you will, in information for Americans. Americans are very uninformed about reality, what's really going on. With climate change, Ukraine, Israel, and you name it, all the biggest topics in the world, Americans have an appetite for a little bit of information. That vacuum is filled by the film industry. Not just the independent film industry, not just the documentary film industry, which are very important around the world, but by narrative films as well, where the filmmakers and the buyers, the studios and the networks and the streamers are willing to go that way, and they're willing to try to make films that are not only entertaining, but informative as well. So I think right now is probably one of the most significant times in our history. And since film began, since the film experience began, it became an art form, it became a business, a huge business. Now is probably one of the most important times in our history for us to make films that will teach people about what reality is around the world.
Grazie mille, faccio io una domanda, poi dopo alzate le mani che vi passo la parola. Quanto la proiezione ufficiale di Caccia Ottobre Rosso sarà questa sera al Romano 2 alle 21:30, quanto è attuale oggi una storia come quella che viene raccontata in Caccia Ottobre Rosso, e poi dopo un ricordo anche delle riprese e della sua collaborazione con Sean Connery all'interno del film?
Well, the first time I did the film, it was the first big film I had ever done. I had done a few films before that. We shot that film in 1989. We started filming on my birthday, and we were filming all the spring of 1989. And the reason I chose that film, not because I'm young and thin, but I chose that film because of the cast. I have learned that throughout my work in films, the people you work with is essential. When we did Glengarry, Glen Ross, all of those actors were actors I loved and admired. When I did The Edge, I worshipped Tony Hopkins. Everything is the opportunity to work with people that you love as performers, as actors. When I did, pardon me, when I did Blue Jasmine with Cate Blanchett, I loved Cate, I worship her, she's such a great actress. And so Red October, when I look back, it's the cast, it's just a miracle when you think about it. not just Sean, who was probably one of the greatest movie stars that ever lived, and he was lovely to me. He was so kind to me, because I think he knew I was scared to make a movie with him. The whole time I'm like, because he's great, And then, but we had Scott Glenn, Courtney Vance, Sam Neill, Tim Curry, Peter Firth. You know, I went to work one day, I think I was working later in that day, and Firth is playing the Russian intelligence officer, who Sean kills him. He breaks his neck and kills him. Now Firth, who's one of the greatest actors that ever lived, he's a great actor, the British actor, Peter Firth. They give him a page of Russian, and they wanted to transfer, they wanted to turn from the Russian to the English, just like they did in Judgment at Nuremberg, where they switched from the German to the English. So that Maximilian Schell, I believe, is talking in German, and they're pushing in, German, stop, and he switches, and he changes to English. But they wanted you to know they're Germans, but we're changing it for your benefit, language-wise. And the same with Firth. They're pushing in on him, and he's going, I don't speak Russian, but they're pushing the camera, and he's going, Bratsky, and he goes, and of course, Commander, you realize, and he switches. And they gave Firth like paragraphs of Russian, and he just gets it, just perfect. I mean, you to work with actors like that, very skilled actors, you know. I know I'm leaving out some people, and Fred Thompson. I know I should have had a list of the cast with me. I don't have my phone. But anyway, such great actors. It was such an honor for me, you know, to do that. Every time I do a movie now, who's in the film? You know, who's in the film? When I did The Good Shepherd, and De Niro was the director, and De Niro would walk up to me and no. In The Good Shepherd. No. Matt Damon. I'm sorry. Yeah, my mind is gone. If I can't remember Matt Damon, my mind is gone. So Matt Damon is there with me, and Bob would walk up, and I was terrified. It's Robert De Niro. He's directing you. He's watching you. When he's acting, he doesn't sit up. All the great actors, they mind their business. They're not going to come up to you and go, oh, do this. Never. They never say a word when you're acting with them. But now he's directing. His job is to talk to me. And he walks up and he doesn't say anything for like 20 seconds. And I'm like sweating. He walks up to me and he's like, and I'm sitting going, and then he says to me, he goes, talk slower, a little slower, okay? It's very good. And I'm sitting going, and he walks away, and I'm like, but you work with those people that you love and admire. Pacino, I did the little film with him, his Richard, Looking for Richard, his Richard III film, like a semi-documentary. All of those people that I worked with. George C. Scott had a small part in the film I did. I'm leaving out a lot of people, but my God, that's the joy. That's the joy. Because the movie, you have no chance to influence how it comes out. You just do your work the best you can. And then when you see the movie, you go, oh, okay, I hope it works. Hope they sell some tickets, you know. But the memories you have, the deep memories, are of the cast. Always the cast. Yeah.
Thank you for the laugh.
Arianna? Se riusciamo a portarle un microfono, è in quarta fila, sulla sinistra.
No, please, I'm happy to do it.
Mi fa piacere che lei abbia ricordato Jasmine e Kate Blanchett, che è stata appunto una delle poche attrici che non ha rinnegato di aver lavorato con Woody Allen. E volevo chiederle, lei è sempre stato impegnato col Partito Democratico, lei ha detto che il cinema può cambiare da questo punto di vista la visione degli spettatori, quali sono i film da questo punto di vista di cui è il più fiero, e poi quanto è importante il senso dell'umorismo, perché appunto certi suoi personaggi, compreso quello di Trump, ci hanno accompagnato e ci hanno fatto molto ridere negli scorsi anni.
Well, if you do a film and you get an audience, that's the goal. An audience is the goal. Thank you. An audience is the goal. So, sorry. When I did the TV series in America, 30 Rock, with Tina Fey, we didn't have the biggest ratings. Our ratings were not very big, but we had the ratings were enough for us to stay on the air for the 7 seasons we did. We did 6 seasons, then a shortened 7th season. And the reason I mention that is because what a joy it was to have an audience. You know, you see people on the street and they would say, "Oh, I love your show, I love your show," and it was nice to have. It's always nice to have an audience. Because I made movies. I once made a movie. I won't say what movie. And I make a movie, and I love the script. I love the director. Everything's great. And I turn to the producer and I go, "We're shooting in Chicago in the dead of winter. It's freezing cold." And I say to the producer, "When is the movie coming out?" He says, "Maybe over the summer." I go, "Okay, great." I said, "Because we're going to win every award. We're going to win every award. Best picture, best director, best actor, best actress. We're going to win everything." The movie came out and it went boom, dead. Nobody watched the movie. So you have high hopes for an audience. You want an audience to see it. Because sometimes people will see a movie of mine 10 years later, and they'll say, "That's a great movie. I like that movie." And I say, "Why didn't you go buy a ticket and see it in the theater?" You know, that would have helped me. But I'm joking. But the point is that the goal is always, how do you reach an audience? You know, how do you reach an audience? So when I did the comedy, that was fun, you know. And when I did It's Complicated with Meryl, that was a comedy, a romantic comedy. That was a joy to do. I love her. But every time you do a film, you think, like last night I watched The Substance. I watched the movie The Substance. How many people, raise your hand if you've seen The Substance? Okay, I can't see. Now raise your hand if you haven't seen The Substance. You have not. You got to see this movie. I mean, I really think that Demi is going to get nominated for an Oscar for this movie. For her to go completely, I mean, I watched this movie and I'm going, this is Demi, who I know. I made 2 movies with her. I'm like, my God, it's unbelievable, her bravery. So when you do movies that are very original, super original, very smart and well-directed, well-written, or you do movies that are going to sell a lot of tickets, like Batman, you know. How many Batman movies have there been now? What, like 500? How many? 100. So there's a lot of, those movies sell a lot of tickets, so you want to be in a film that is successful with an audience or very creative, you know. You try.
This is the cast. You want to read it?
Oh,
All the cast.
Okay. So it's Sean Connery, this is Hunt for October, Scott Glenn, Sam Neill, James Earl Jones, Joss Auckland, Richard Jordan, Peter Firth, Curry, Courtney Vance, Stellan Skarsgård, Jeffrey Jones, Tim Carhart, Brett Thompson, Danny Davis, Tony Peck, Ron Gutman, plays the Russian officer, and everybody else are people you may or may not know. But, oh, what a great cast. That movie was an honor to me.
An incredible cast.
Yeah, great cast.
Abbiamo una domanda là?
Buongiorno, avrei diverse domande ma gliene faccio 2. La prima, lei è uno dei massimi interpreti del cinema mondiale. Ha ancora un progetto, un sogno che non ha ancora realizzato e che vorrebbe realizzare? La seconda domanda, lei riceverà il premio Stella dell'Amore. Cosa rappresenta per lei questo premio in questo momento della sua vita? Grazie.
Well, I'm very touched. Yes, thank you. I'm very touched. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for them to give me this award. I don't, I have 7 children. The oldest child is 11. My youngest child is 2. I'm 66 years old, and I have a 2-year-old baby. So I'm very tired. So when they said, come to Torino to get an award, I think, oh, I don't know if I want to fly, I'm so tired, I need to sleep. But I was very honored. I'm deeply honored that you asked me. I haven't done this in a while, and I haven't been leaving my house for a while. I'm home with my kids, and I'm very grateful to be here. This is a beautiful festival, by the way, beautiful festival. You should be very proud, because in the United States, the festivals are divided into 2 categories, or 3 actually. One is the market, like many festivals where they want to sell. Cannes is the marché to sell the films. Then there are ones that are super creative, like the New York Film Festival is highly intense creatively. Then there's a mix. Tribeca, Toronto, South by Southwest, all these films where they have a nice mix of the market and the festival, the pure festival, the pure appreciation of film. And this festival here, I think you have a beautiful mix here. Do you do a lot of sales here or no? People come from the sales market? Some.
There is an industry panel around, but the festival is about movies.
Right.
We love movies.
You should be very proud. You should be very proud of this festival. It's beautiful. I hope I can come back here one day just to eat. Yeah, I'm going to eat some more in a little while.
Abbiamo Fulvia in prima fila sulla destra.
Non ha risposto alla prima.
Okay, where's Matt? Matt, where are you? Where? How am I doing, Matt? How am I doing? Okay, great. Thank you. My wife sent him as my babysitter, so I don't say anything wrong.
Senta, volevo chiederle questo. Ieri, dunque, sia Sharon Stone, ma poi in qualche modo anche Manuel Bear, hanno detto che a questo punto della battaglia di emancipazione delle donne e soprattutto della battaglia contro la violenza che purtroppo è crescente sulle donne, ci vuole un'alleanza con i maschi. Le chiedo se lei, che ha spesso interpretato anche ruoli ovviamente, non sto dicendo che lo è lei, molto macisti, molto proprio di maschi, caratterizzati nelle loro, diciamo, specificità, si sente pronto a questo tipo di alleanza? Che cosa pensa che gli uomini possono realmente dare di aiuto alle donne in questo momento? Grazie.
Well, let me say, we have time, we can stay for a little while, but I want to say that's a very interesting question, and it's a complicated question. You can't answer that in a short statement, but I'll say this, because there's probably 20 things I could say, but I'll pick 2 things. One is that when I watched Demi's movie, when I watched the subject, the director is a woman. She's a woman. And I think to myself, in this business, what we need, seriously, and we need it sooner than ever, is more female directors. We need more women directors. We need more women, 1,000%. Very often in the film business, which has changed, it's not like this that much anymore, but when I first started, studio films and network TV series, I used to say they were like the Exxon Valdez. It was a gigantic ship with many men on board and women. And the person who was hired as a director, you have to bring the ship into the harbor and not sink the ship and not damage the ship. That's all they cared about. They don't care if you know anything about acting, writing, and if you know lighting, and you know how to move. They trust you. They're giving you the keys to the car. I'm changing metaphors here. They're giving you the keys to the car, and they want you to be in charge. And mostly men ran these companies, and mostly men only trusted other men. So the list of directors in the 90s, I mean, I started in the 80s, but I made a lot of movies for the studios and the networks in the 90s, and the list of directors is this long, and the bottom maybe 2 names are women. 75 names, and 2 of them are women. Now that has to change. We need more women to direct films. And of course those women have to meet the necessity of the film. If the film is an action film, and you have to have a director who they call a shooter, he can move the camera, he moves the camera. He can shoot action, he can film action, he knows that in his bones. Michael Bay, people like that, Cameron, they move the camera very well. Now, if there are women that can do that, great. I'm sure there are. But if the movie is not a film like that, if it's a spoken word drama or a comedy or a period piece or romance or whatever, what's the difference? What do you care if the woman is qualified? And the only way this happens is you have to give them a chance. How many men do they give a chance every day? But not as many women. They'll have a man who is a writer. Like right now we live in the last 15 years in the complete age of the writer-director. If I pay $250,000 to the writer and I pay $250,000 to the director, I put the two together and I say to the writer, you direct the film, but I only pay you $250,000. I don't pay you twice. So they save money. They save money by saying to the writer, you are the director. Never direct a film before. This man here, I work with him, and we get phone calls all the time. And they say, who is the director? I say, who is the director? And they go, the writer. I say, how many films has he made? None. This is his first film. And we go, okay, but they don't do that with a lot of women. They don't give women the same consideration. Now, the second thing I will say about what you mentioned that I think is very important is how many people here, getting too close, how many people here have seen the movie Black Box Diaries from Shiori Ito? Do you know Shiori Ito? Anybody here see the movie? Okay, Shiori Ito is a filmmaker, a documentarian. She's from Japan. She's probably in her early 30s. She was a model, but she's a stunningly beautiful, gorgeous woman. And she's a filmmaker, and she made a film about her own rape. She worked for Reuters as a journalist, and she was raped by an official that she worked with. And this was a huge case. Look it up. Look up Shiori, S-H-I-O-R-I, Ito, I-T-O. Shiori Ito's story is unbelievable, because she went and made a documentary chasing down all the people that she thought knew the facts about her case, because the government wouldn't take the case. The prosecutors refused to prosecute this man. She sued him civilly, and she won. She won money from him civilly. But he was never punished by the Japanese government. He was great friends with Abe. She was great friends with Abe before he died. He died during the time of the the cases, I believe. But this movie her book was called Black Box. She wrote a book about her crime, Black Box, and then she made a movie called Black Box Diary, or Diaries with an S, I don't know. But she made this film. You've got to see this film. Her bravery, because nobody, I mean, even women, there were women protesters outside the courthouse, screaming at her, saying, you know, this man did not do this, you were a whore, you slept with him, all these horrible things they said to her. She was a victim of a horrible crime, but we need more of that. We need more bravery. I mean, we need more bravery. So, anyway, I hope that you should see that movie. No, seriously. Yeah. No, she's amazing. She's amazing.
Giulio.
I'd like to remember all Alec and everybody was in an important day like this for against violence of women. We have more female directors in competition here than male directors. It's the first time in history.
Wow, that's exciting. I wish I could stay. I wish I could for a couple of days. My wife would kill me.
Una domanda qui aspettavo da un pochino.
Ok, c'era prima lei, poi dopo le passo la parola.
Sono qui? Buongiorno.
Prego.
Allora, il cinema ha una cosa molto interessante secondo me, che è il confronto. Jack Ryan ha suscitato una serie di nuovi interventi dopo Caccia, Ottobre Rosso, sia televisivi che cinematografici. Volevo sapere se lei ha visto gli altri, cosa ha provato e qual è la parte, il film che le è piaciuto di più e cosa prova se un attore pensa di aver fatto la parte migliore di lei. Grazie.
Hey Matt, watch this. I've seen them all and I love them all. They're all great. No, I mean, when they made the films, I don't really think about, for me, when you make a movie, your memory is very strange. But if you're in your kitchen, in your house, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and you turn on the TV and there is a movie you're in, you see the scene, you don't remember the scene. You don't remember. Sometimes you do a little bit, but what you remember is that day. You say, that's the day the police pulled me over and gave me a ticket. I remember that day, because I was late to work. You don't really remember movie making as that much, kind of. When you do a play, it's very different. When you do a play, you remember every minute you remember. So when you watch a play that you did, if you watch a play that you were in once, you sit there and go, you embarrass your friend, because you turn to your friend and you turn to your friend and say, I didn't do it that way. I did it a different way. And you ruin the play for them, because you keep commenting on the play all the time, you know. The theater, which I love, and most of my dreams are about the theater, you know what I mean? Because it's all, you remember every moment. And in movies you do, but movies, they go by so fast, it's very quick. It's like making sandcastles. You know, you do the scene, then whoosh, we never talk about it again. You know, tomorrow's another day, and movies are very strange that way. And you remember the people. You remember the people. Oh my God, the love of my life is Tony Hopkins. Oh my God. To have lunch with him every day and have him tell me about working in London for Olivier, and I think to myself, if you ask me who I want to work with in the movie business, there may be 1 or 2 people who are my peers. You say to me, who do you want to work with? I say, Humphrey Bogart. You know, what's his name? From Sunset Boulevard, why am I blanking on? Bill Holden, William Holden. You know, Nicholson. And you know, Redford, Beatty, Newman, all the movie stars when I was young, you know, and none of the people that are my peers. Olivier, could you imagine working with Olivier on a film? I would never leave him alone. I'd follow him around like a dog all day long, you know. So, all my dreams are about, because I grew up watching movies in America, you know, and you watch movies and you watch them. I mean, the difference between how we watch movies when I was young, I'm 66 years old. When I was 10 years old, that's a million years ago. That's over half a century ago. When we were children and we watched movies, you watched that movie. There was no pause, no streaming, no internet, no computers, no nothing. No cable. Broadcast TV solamente. Boom. And you would watch and watch, and you'd watch the whole thing. You didn't move. You get the popcorn, you get the pretzels, you sit there and you watch, and you never take away. Now, pause, ring, ring, hello, yes, you know, you don't watch the way the director intended you to watch. Now, I've only been here 2 days, look at me now. But you have to watch the movie, sit down. Go to a theater, but sit down. Watch the whole movie, start to finish, unless it's 3 hours long, but such a difference. I'm sorry, where am I keeping you? Sorry, no?
I have a question here. I'm a great fan of Hunt for Red October. I saw it for the 5th time on TV last week. We will see it again this night. But at the beginning of this conversation, you were talking about the United States, and you were talking about your concerns about the United States. You said the information is lacking, but what are exactly your concerns after the elections are been done? So from a political point of view, what are your hopes and your concerns about America? Thank you very much.
Well, I think that we have to have, you know, when the United States decides that it wants to do something, they want to bring an extraordinary amount of money, because the United States is in debt a great deal, but still very wealthy country. They still have a high GNP and so forth. There's a lot of money available to do things, and I'm okay. And you want to put a man on the moon? They put a man on the moon. You want to do all these great things, the WPA, you want to have all these projects that help people. We need to have an Apollo project. I don't say Manhattan Project, because that's destructive. That's a bomb that killed people. I say Apollo project regarding the environment. Plastics pollution in the United States is an epidemic now. It's everywhere. They found plastics pollution in the permafrost, in the poles. There is plastic, particulate plastic, in every corner of the world now, in all bodies of water. And something has to be done about that. Something has to be done. Because who knows what in another 10 years, the last 20 years is nothing in a line of history. But if you go another 20, 30, 40 years, what the results are going to be for human health, I don't know. Plastics pollution and global warming. I think that, for example, in the United States, every single state, I'll give you one example, and I worked with people who proposed this idea. Every single state in the United States would be told they must, by law, or we would withhold certain funding from them. Or highways in the United States kind of bribes the government, blackmails all the states by saying, you want that highway money? You don't do this. Well, there's a lot of things they can do to play games with the state governments, but what you want to say to them is, you must have a alternative energy component to every building you manufacture over a certain size that is a public building. School, university, airport, bus station, hospital, government building. You need to have a photovoltaic element, a solar element embedded in the roof of that building, and in adjoining parking areas it needs to be fully solar and wind, or one or the other or both. You must force the states to embrace alternative energy, and because that's the only, I believe that's only one component. What we must do aggressively in the next, not 30 years, like the next 10. That's one example of people I work with, that's one idea that they have proposed. You must force them to do it. At the same time, because we can cut, you're never going to get rid of gas. You're never going to get rid of oil as a fuel, refined or otherwise. You're going to have, you can't rely on people plugging in the ambulance, plugging in the fire truck. We'll still have vehicles, typically emergency vehicles, that will be powered by gas. Police, fire, ambulance. But if you cut consumer use by half, that's a good start.
Ne approfitto per fare una domanda io. C'è una battuta di Caccia, Ottobre Rosso che mi ha sempre colpito molto, in cui ironicamente il suo protagonista dice: Jack, la prossima volta che ti diano un'idea brillante scrivila e basta. Lo dice ironicamente. Quanto in qualche modo questa battuta le appartiene e quanto diventa attuale in un mondo oramai in cui c'è una netta preponderanza delle immagini sulla parola scritta?
I think I know what you're saying.
Because probably the original language is different from the line that you say in Italian. Now I don't know who's the translator.
Put it in a memo, I said.
Difficult thing. You should name a quote in English to make them understand.
Oh, it's okay. No, it's okay. Should we ask me to be careful what you say in public?
No.
It's a very good idea. I'm going to remember you said. Write that down for me.
Quoting a movie in Italian, and now the translation is trying to remember how it was in the original.
Maybe in English is, Jack, when you have a great idea, write it and don't do it.
In a memo.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot in the last few years about what is a good idea, what's a not good idea in public life. In the United States, there was a legitimate, I'll use that word loosely, there's a legitimate press. And all of those press facilities, all of those sources, major networks, cable networks, all of them have what is considered their basic platform. Like CNN is on television, the major networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, are on television. And then they have an online component, which is very different, very different. The online component is more tabloid for the clicks. So everything is sensational, everything is tough to deal with. You know, there's so many things that are written that are, I mean, if you were running around chasing down all the things that were said about you that were not true or were half true, spend your time doing that all day long, you know. So there are news sources in America that are more traditional, and then there are online sources, but then they're both owned by the same company. And the online sources are a little more difficult to deal with. So what you have to do is you must be, you know, Scorsese, I think, said, or somebody famous once said, there's no such thing as irony in an interview. You can't say something to a reporter and think that they're going to print it in that context. They're going to write it like you literally meant something when you didn't, you were joking. So the days of joking, the days of having any fun with certain elements of the press are over. It's over. In the United States, it's over. Because they're always looking for something to get you, you know. So you have to be very careful what you say. Be very careful what you say.
Abbiamo tempo per un'ultima domanda?
Not with you, by the way. No, you are fine. I trust all of you.
Eccetto i presenti. Abbiamo tempo per un'ultimissima domanda? Se no, l'ultima a questo punto la faccio io. Lei è un attore con un talento incredibile, estremamente sfaccettato, poliedrico, e all'interno della sua carriera ha affrontato generi diversi. Quali sono i personaggi che la attraggono di più, che le piace di più incarnare, interpretare?
I love thrillers, because when you do a thriller, there's a kind of measure of the acting. You know, if you do a comedy, it can be a little heightened and a little crazy, and your character's a little stressed out, if you will, because people find that funny. Your character lacks self-awareness. When we did 30 Rock, my character was not very self-aware. Then sometimes he was very self-aware. He kind of flipped. Different things you play, you know, action films, very heightened. But when you do thrillers, everything gets down here. And everything slows down, and the music and the cinematography and the lighting. I did the movie Malice with Nicole Kidman and Bill Pullman, and the director was Harold Becker, and the cinematographer was Gordon Willis, who shot The Godfather. And I will tell you that if you ask me, beyond the cast, which is unavoidable, because as an actor I love other actors who I admire. The people that are you the most excited about when you do a movie are the cinematographer and the music. You're happy about everybody. You love it. Oh, we got so-and-so to do the costumes or so forth. But cinematography, so Gordon Willis is the cinematographer. And we are sitting there, and I can't believe it. I said, I'm making a movie with Gordon Willis, who shot all of the great Woody Allen movies. And he's known, how do you say, chiaroscuro? Yeah. Chiaroscuro? Scuro. Oh. So that's Willis, very dark, very dark. And I turned to Bill Pullman, and I said, do you think if we left and the stand-in came here, that they would even notice the difference? Because it's so dark, like, can you even see us? It's so goddamn dark in the scene. You can barely see our faces, you know. And what an honor it was to work with him. What an honor, you know. When I did The Edge, they got, who did that score for The Edge? Jerry, who knows music, film music? Who's the great, The Edge. Who did this? Jerry, it's on the tip of my tongue. I'm so old now, I can't remember anything. Jerry Goldsmith. And these guys in the office, we were rehearsing, and somebody came out of a room, one of the producers came out of a room into the room we were in, and he was exultant. He went, we got Jerry Goldsmith. He was so excited. And so was I, because he wrote a beautiful score. You know, Hans Zimmer. You know, God, when you get those guys and women to score your film, it's so beautiful. Because the film business is about many people working together. And I love thrillers. I was listening to music with him today. Because in Demi's movie, In the Substance, they sample music from Vertigo, from Bernard Herrmann's Vertigo. They sample a piece of Vertigo. And what's more beautiful than the score to Vertigo? And who was more talented than Bernard Herrmann? He was a genius. So for me, I love thrillers because you can really, really, you know, manipulate people more in a way. It was more subtle.
Signore e signori, Alex Baldwin.
Ci vediamo stasera, Caccia a Ottobre Rosso. Ciao.
Romano 2, 21:30, grazie mille. Un festival